American democracy, the envy of the world. This is why immigrants such as me from Africa cross the forest, trotted the desert, climbed the mountains and swam the oceans to come here. Now I'm asking myself, why are these lunatics trying to tear down the greatest human achievement? In the past weeks, Joe Biden and the Democrats have taken the Planned Parenthood abortion cliché into a new cataclysmic raw emotionalism, sending some indoctrinated, troubled teenagers to light up the streets, while Kamala Harris giggle around without going to the border after returning from Europe. As the midterm election nears, Joe Biden and the Democrats looked at what they have created in the past 1.5 years. They see inflation, they see the border, rising crimes, they see gas prices, and see millions of people dying in Ukraine. America sees weakness and its enemy emboldened. Instead of uniting, Joe Biden took to work. He arrested mothers who dared to ask questions about their children's schoolwork. The mothers that were lucky to escape from the FBI raids are now anxious about how to feed their infant babies. Democrats say American people no longer have mothers. They are burdened people. No wonder a female Supreme Court justice does not know what a woman is. Under the first glass ceiling breaking female vice president, all Democrat senators, all of them, except maybe Joe Manchin, are forcing abortion law that Biden will sign. Listen to this, folks. After a woman suffered and carried pregnancy for 9 months, the baby will be delivered. Then the mother will be asked if she wants to kill the baby. And if the mother says yes, the baby will be executed on a table. Under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, Democrats have launched an unpardonable assault on law and order, on women, on hard-working Americans. They have waged war against people they color-coded, black and brown, judging them by the color of their skins and not by the content of their characters. Joe Biden is turning a free country into a surveillance state where he is using federal agencies to silence and imprison political opponents. Biden, the supposed adult to rescue American democracy, is poisoning American public emotions and destabilizing the world with his dangerous and incoherent rhetorics. Interestingly, the few sellout blacks and these other minorities that profit from these Democrats' disdain color charades tell the rest of us that white people are racist. Go away from them, they tell us, because they are evil. But when I look at these black and these minority bigots, they are all in love and in bed with white people. Do you know who Kamala Harris is married to? What about Justice Brown Jackson? Do you know the man Don Lemon is married to at the moment? Do you know who Barack Obama and Michelle Obama's children are going out with right now? No? How about Ilhan Omar? I'm not going to talk about Congresswoman Omar's un-African ingratitude to the country that rescued her and made her the American dream. I will talk about Ilhan Omar another time. I'm not going to talk about her as a woman though, because obviously I'm not. I'm not going to talk about the Congresswoman as a Muslim, because I'm not one. Though I have friends, family members, colleagues and neighbors that are Muslims. But I will talk about Miss Omar as an African, because I am an African. I will remind Miss Omar that we Africans do not bite the fingers that fed us. Let me just leave this squad member alone for now. For another time. Now, American knows and pride is national trauma of victimhood, where certain people gain special treatments and accommodations from the sins of the people they do not know. Now it's all about equity, intersectionality, white privilege. Look, I was born in Africa. I grew up in Europe. I have been to Australia, Asia, and the Middle East. Now living here, I can tell you this is still the greatest country on earth. It really saddens my heart that Joe Biden and the Democrats want to burn this country down. During the last presidential election campaign, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris kept singing their Summer of Love song titled Say Their Names. Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, remember? After these names got them the black votes and the white guilt money bought BLM baby daddy's mansions, do you hear any of these names anymore? Have Miss Harris continued to advise African Americans not to let up? No, she haven't. And she's not going to. But back to election season, the VP have started repeating the old and tired abortion line of my body, my choice. Knowing fully well that that person growing inside her womb is not her body. Of course, she might not know this from personal experience. Anyway, the color-coded people are waking up right now. The black and brown are leaving Democrat Party in drones. What are they doing now? I mean, what are the Democrats doing now that the black and browns are leaving their party? Easy. Finding replacement. Open up the border and fill up the caravans. Let the vulnerable risk their lives to come in here. Why are they doing this? Because they love immigrants? No, they don't. Bring them in and boss them around the country. Make them wash plates and cut grasses in white neighborhoods. Keep promising them citizenship in every election cycle, just as they are doing to the darker children right now, to keep them voting Democrats forever. No, you are wrong. You are wrong, Biden. You are wrong, Democrats. We will not keep voting you in perpetuity because we do not share the same values. Democrats do not believe in God. You don't believe in right to life. You don't believe in family. And you don't even believe in meritocracy. Think about this. Almost everyone you're bossing around the country right now believe in the American values. These are the reasons we risk our life to come here in the first place. We have our God. We value our family. We uphold the sanctity to life. We also believe that if you work hard and follow the rules, you will achieve your American dream. Sadly, the Democrats want to burn this country down. I tell you this. If the law-abiding citizens of this country, if the hard-working men and women of this nation allow these soulless people to burn down this country, by the time you start queuing up as asylum seekers in Asia and Europe, you will remember then that you once had a country. But I bet you it will be too late. I looked at his public records. Joe Biden is not a smart person. Ask Barack Obama about this. He not only serially embellishes his autobiography with golden embroidery, but he shamefully makes things up. This is not a joke, folks. It's not even a public. I mean it. And above all, he is a racist. Kamala Harris will tell you more about this. You remember when the then presidential candidate Biden told an African American radio host, what is his name again? Leonard McCovey. They call him Shanama, I think. That he isn't black if he doesn't vote for Biden. Yeah. But whenever they draw Biden's attention to this falsehood and racism, he got brutals like, "Come on, man, are you a junkie?" What really shocked me about the Shalimar episode is not the crass and grotesque statement from Biden, but how this young man sat there, moped and unresponsive to this despicable comment to his face. That moment reminded me of Tarantino's film Django Unchained. Django, D-J-A-N-G-O. The D is silence. Played by Jimmy Fox. This pre-American Civil War new free slave with a white bandit friend found himself in a plantation of Shandy to rescue his loved slave wife. When Kevin Candy, the plantation owner, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, find out their plan, he brought out old Ben Skor to explain the genetic submissiveness of black people. This scene kept playing over and over and over again in my head as I watched this Shalimar immobile before Joe Biden's racist comment. And I was looking at this guy saying, is this the African Americans that Martin Luther King Jr. and other civil rights fighters liberated? But I was really relieved a few weeks later when I accidentally bumped into a video on YouTube. This young black woman was being attacked by two white females in a congressional hearings about black issue. But when this young lady was given a chance to speak, boy oh boy, she dressed down these professional Caucasians and left the whole chamber speechless. I said, wow. Then I just Googled her name, Candace Owen. I said, Candace, please adopt my 2-year-old daughter. Since then, I have been a big fan of Miss Owen. Just like Donald Trump, I share the combative spirit with Candace, especially against those who throw their insecurity at me. Okay, getting back on track. It is so sad that Joe Biden has brought forth his idiocracy, rubbishing the most sophisticated democracy on the world stage. And it baffles me how the mainstream media, pumping up such an incoherent selected rather than elected president, bringing the world's greatest country to its knees. I was talking to a friend last week in Africa. Yeah, he is one of these African politicians. And at the point he said to me, you keep saying America is the greatest this, yada yada yada, but they can't even organize an election. And I said, yeah, oh yeah. Okay, getting back on track. To distract Biden underwater ratings, the Democrats turned to their playbook, sending an obeying zealot to leak a Supreme Court private deliberation on a pending abortion case before it. the politically motivated leaker, who, by the way, now not only have free sex offer from a promiscuous comedian, but he is now in the elite group of the Ukrainian Vidman. On the leaker's success, with no repercussion, none, I mean none, Chuck Schumer released his whirlwind to some entitled angry children, permitted them not only to go and force Supreme Court justice and their families into hiding, but to assassinate them. The Democrat, and in all fairness, some old Republican rhinos, believe that they are too holy, too virtuous, too intelligent, that if you, a hayseed, disagreed with their globalist mantra, you will be crushed. Well, come to think of it, their violence justified their superiority complex. The fundamental questions I have been struggling with since I arrived in this country is, why is Democrat-led Congresses always try to select radical ideologues to the Supreme Court? Well, a fervent California Democrat once told me the answer. And she said, so that the court can help them legislate laws they cannot sell to the American people through voting. Under Barack Obama, let's say his first term, Democrats had the entire government, just as now under Joe Biden. In 8 years, President Obama did not pass any law that protects women's reproductive rights, nor did he, with the Democrat Congress, pass any voting rights laws or DACA laws that will protect the people they color-coded, black and brown. Now Joe Biden and Democrats want to make voting laws because the African Americans are too stupid, too unintelligent to get an ID. Now they are bringing back women's suffrage. Unbelievable. Democrats don't care about these people. They just want to make this law to be able to mail out ballots to illegal immigrants so that this ballot will count towards or above Joe Biden's 80 million votes. Trust me, for no other reasons they are pushing these laws. Coming from Obama's yes we can mirage, Trump presidencies removed the scale from my eyes, and I learned a lot of what I did not know about America. The deep corruption of American elitism, the three-tier justice system, the weaponization of the intelligence community and federal agencies, and of course the courts. I will get to the court in a moment. The Trump administration, by the way, I am not a huge fan of Mr. Trump, but I believe that Trump arguably is one of the greatest, if not the greatest president in American modern history. If you looked at what he did for America in just 4 years, in the face of what many people could describe as insurmountable adversary, James Comey's leak, Bob Mueller's expedition, his cabinet 25th amendment coup, the disgraceful impeachments, the unbelievable media onslaught, the big tech censor. Can you imagine what President Trump had done if he had had a minimal support from these swamps? Now to the court. Let's talk specifically about abortion and the court. Democrats continue to verify and threaten the most reverend judicial institution into making eugenics laws that is antipathy to the American value. Okay, let's really look at the Supreme Court's abortion politicking. Let's not start from a distant path, just from the Warren Court, which is considered the most liberal court in U.S. history. The court that displayed one of its overreaching judicial power in the 1965 case of Greenwood and Connecticut. In this case, the leftist justices invented the modern jurisprudence of constitutional adjudication, something of the protection of privacy from the shadow of the constitutional right of liberty. They call it the penumbra. So in 1973, the court looked at this shaded area in the Constitution and found abortion. Voila. No, this is serious, folks, and let's get real here. The court might be able to invent and legislate on any constitutional rights hidden in this shadow. He can find anything he's looking for: condom, transiting genders, marrying to anything. But the court cannot and can never invent and legislate on what happens to a life. Never. The reason being, the 14th Amendment says in part, none shall any state deprive any person of life. This means no person, people, or government can dictate what happens to a life. Therefore, abortion, simply put, is illegal and unconstitutional in all ramifications. The moment a woman knows that she is pregnant, she or anyone cannot thereafter knowingly and willingly abort that child, regardless of the condition in which that child was conceived. Constitutionally, the condition in which a child is conceived does not deprive that child of his or her life. This is the truth. The Declaration of American Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain alienable rights. Alienable rights. These are rights that are impossible to be taken away from you. Amongst these rights is life. No man, therefore, no woman or government, including the court, can dictate who lives or dies. The Supreme Court judicial rascality displayed in Roe v. Wade is a blatant disregard for the Constitution's supremacy the court was created to safeguard. And some people say to me, you said abortion is out of brand to anyone and anything. Yes, of course it is. Then they ask, what about other rights? Marriage, blah, blah, blah. What happens to those rights? Well, what happens to those rights is obvious. The Constitution is very clear about that. What is not in the Constitution is for the people to debate. 9th and 10th Amendments. The federal government, being the executive, the Congress, or the federal courts, have no such power to legislate on those rights. They belong to the states. The minimum the Supreme Court can do to redeem itself from its judicial overreach is to return those controversial debates to the rightful arbiter, the states and their people. In that, if Californians want and vote for a man to be sleeping with another man, so be it. And if the Virginians want and vote and say they don't want to use condom, good for them. It is called self-governing. If you don't like it there in Virginia, come to California. Here they are now debating to allow mothers to kill their children after birth. Infanticide. The killing of babies. America,